All right, what is up, y'all, and welcome back to another YouTube video here on the YouTube channel. And today here I'm to talk about the Wonder Man show, but not just the show, but well, not really the show itself, but really the trailers we've gotten and what I'm going to expect from the show and something things I'm excited about. Give a quick rundown of Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man, and also the build up for the West Coast Avengers, because of course it's definitely coming. But yeah, so first, I want to start off with, I guess we'll start off with a rundown for Simon Williams. So Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man, is so he wasn't, of course, always an actor. He actually ran a business that his father actually founded. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's almost like a Stark Industries esque uh, company, and I say it like that because Stark Industries is kind of involved in his origin. So in his origin, he grew up. It was him, his brother Eric Williams, and his father. I can't remember the name of his father. Of course, his father founded the company, but his father was kind of hard on them, but not like abusive, at least not that I recall of. But long story short, his father died, and William inherited the business, but Loki didn't know how to handle it, so it just kind of um, it kind of just fell to the ground. Everything just kind of crashed, and that's when Stark Industries kind of swooped in and took the title as like the biggest name industry, and it was a whole thing with the court and everything because he started to just go downhill and just do a lot of like stuff he just shouldn't. And so he went to court and blamed Stark and Stark Industries for his failure, but of course it was only just him. But then he ended up being recruited by Baron Zemo for a test or whatever you say, whatever you want to call it. But anyways, he went underwent a test of ionic rays. I think that's how they put it. Is ionic rays with I think attachment PIM particle iotas, and it completely altered his physiology and his body. But that's not where it mainly started because he did die after said thing. Then he was resurrected. Then that's kind of where a lot of his onset powers that we know he has now kind of came from. But the reason why Baron Zemo um, did this experiment on him because he wanted to create kind of his own personal weapon to use against the Avengers, which he did, but eventually Simon Williams broke free and went on to help out and join the Avengers and become, of course, Wonder Man. Now, the thing that I was talking about when he died, so he had like his ionic abilities and all of that, right? But he ended up dying, which led to his brother Eric to become the Grim Reaper, if I recall correctly, and just constantly just like that's what I'm looking for. Like he just constantly was on the mindset of about his death, and he went on to do a whole bunch of stuff like in the Marvel universe. He actually did have or not a cameo, but there was a little reference to him in the She-Hulk show. I think it was in the credits. It was in like it was like this. I don't know how to explain what the animation was like, but it was animation, and you could see his helmet on the shelf, kind of tilted to the side. So it's like a little nod to him. She-Hulk had a lot of little like references and stuff like that in the show. But when he was resurrected was when he got all these different slew of abilities. So like, energy projection, ionic energy constructs. The dude's virtually immortal, or not even virtually, is immortal. He doesn't need, of course, any food, water, or sleep to survive. A little funny thing about him, so you know how Rogue when she touches people, she like drains them of like their powers or whatever and stuff like that. Well, when she touched Simon Williams, she absorbed him, and that's due to the fact that Simon Williams is composed of pure ionic energy, and he's not made up of flesh, bones, or blood. It's kind of, I think it's kind of debated if he really is just ionic energy, because after he died, he was kind of unsure. But I feel like him being absorbed by Rogue instead of being drained kind of solidifies that yeah, he's pretty much composed of ionic energy. He can fly, but he used to be able to not fly, so he needed a jetpack, which we actually see that in the trailer, or like in the first trailer we get when, of course, because Simon Williams in the MCU is trying to land the role for Simon Williams Wonder Man in the reboot version, and we see the original actor who portrays him with a jetpack because originally he could not fly, and he could not fly on his own. He's also wearing the original Wonder Man green costume with the red W. What else can he do? Oh, he can alter his size. The dude's OP as hell. It's insane. I'm trying to remember some feats that he did, but off the top of my head, I can't really remember. But watch, I'm gonna remember this after the video. But yeah, dude, if they use him right and they don't like let him go to waste, like some other characters, wink, wink, whatever. He'll be a really, really cool character. He'll be an awesome character to have in the MCU going forward, of course, after Doomsday and Secret Wars. But yeah, so that's a little quick kind of rough cut origin because I want to mainly talk about like the West Coast Avengers and the future of like him and his character a little bit more. Um, so yeah, we'll go from there. So he has a couple different like some of his power sets, some of the stuff he can do. Now to the West Coast Avengers. So quick little side origin for the West Coast Avengers. So the West Coast Avengers are literally exactly how they sound, an Avengers team on the West Coast. But it's not as I guess stupid as some people would make it sound. But really, it's literally just the Avengers can't be everywhere all at once. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Of course, in the MCU, we see them going around the world. Solving different things. Helping out or whatever. Which I mean, they do in the comics, but it's like they can't be everywhere, like literally, like all the time or whatever. So they ended up, or not them. I think is it Shield. I can't exactly remember. Someone contacts the Avengers or something like that, and they end up forming the West Coast. And it was Hawkeye mainly. He was I think one of the founding members. I think. Don't quote me on this. I think Williams is another founding member, but he's one of the most prominent members of the West Coast Avengers. So their roster is Hawkeye, Wonder Man. I think was it Tigra? I think it's Tigra. Mockingbird, which is actually Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye's wife in the MCU. Don't think they're gonna use her as Mockingbird. Could be wrong. I don't know. It seems like she's more so retired. Who else is on that team? Iron Man is on that team. Or I'm going off the old, like the first iteration of them, because currently now I think the current roster is I think still Wonder Man, Tigra, Jessica Drew, Spider Woman, Iron Man, and War Machine, and then there's one more, but I'm missing it. Ultron. That's a whole thing. I can make a video about that if anyone wants to know what's going on with Ultron and him being on the West Coast Avengers. But yeah, but the old roster it has Iron Man with his red and silver suit. So I what would be called the Silver Centurion suit. Um, and I think War Machine was on there too. So yeah, I think that's all the members. I'm pretty sure it's changed over time, like any superhero team has. But that's the West Coast Avengers, kind of what they are, kind of what they do. Now I'm going over a quick, rough cut, 5-minute craft type origin for Simon Williams and the West Coast Avengers. I want to talk about the show and what it seems like they're kind of doing. Okay, so the show is pretty on point with the way the comics fold out. Of course, Simon Williams is an actor. And basically, but the difference is, or actually not the difference. I think he does in the comics audition for the new role of Wonder Man. I think, or I think it's either no, I think it's switched. I think the role of Wonder Man is new, and then Simon Williams is auditioning for it. Unlike as it is going to be in the show in the MCU, it was an original movie, but then the director is coming out to redo it to like do a reboot, and Simon Williams is trying to sign on. But the biggest caveat to that, where the conflict of the show is going to be, is that of course superheroes or people with superhuman abilities are not allowed to have to try to audition for roles in Hollywood or I guess anywhere. We even see one of the trailers. One of the dudes is asking. He's like, he's signing the paper. He's like, you don't have any powers, right? He was like, yeah, no, whatever, kind of like lying, whatever. But I'm excited to see, what the case with his powers are going to be in the MCU because he already has his powers before the show takes place. Obviously, we see that, with when he asks him, you have any powers or anything, and like his eyes are radiant or whatever, right? So I'm curious to see like where his powers come from. Like, are they gonna make it as like he's born with them? He was given them some way. I don't think I'd highly doubt. Almost don't think they're gonna go the route with Baron Zemo was the one who contacted him for the operation with the Ion Grays or whatever. Because I just really don't think so. But who knows? They could, but I highly doubt it. Of course, Marvel could surprise me. Oh yeah, Trevor. Is it Trevor Williams? I think. No, it's not. I don't think it's Williams, but Trevor, homeboy from Iron Man 3, the fake, not quotations, but yeah, the fake almost said Mongol. I don't know why. I'm thinking DC. The fake Mandarin from Iron Man 3, Trevor Slattery, or Slattery, however you say it. There you go. He's going to be in the show. Of course, he was in Iron Man 3, and he was also in Shang-Chi, and then now he's going to be in here guiding Williams, because, Williams is I think this is going to be like his first big role. Of course, Trevor is already a well actor, because we saw him in Iron Man 3, and he fooled everybody. But yeah, I'm excited to see him. I love Trevor. Just in general, I'm excited for the show. The whole vibe is just, I love it, dude. I love it, love it, love it, love it. What else? Oh yeah, I think his brother Eric Williams will be in the show. The Grim Reaper. I'm pretty sure. We haven't seen anything like from him, like any set photos or anything. We did get a recent photo of him. I did post it on this account in one of his uniform, the black uniform with the red W. I do hope we get to see him in the green uniform with the red W, which I think we will, but I don't think it's going to be as like him, like, fighting, as actual Wonder Man, like the superhero, like, in real life fighting. I think we're gonna see him, like, have the suit on, or at least try it on. You know how like they do those superhero montages and some like Marvel and DC movies where like they try on different suits, and one of the suits they try on is like the OG suit from way back when. They're like, nah, I don't like it, and then they go with like a kind of like a mix between like a new and old. I think they're gonna do something like that, like maybe like the I don't know, like the rehearsal for like the costume and all that. But yeah, I'm excited, and I think the everyone else, or a lot of other people, are excited. Of course, with anything else that comes out Marvel or anything, especially nowadays, people do tend to hate on it, and you get a lot of comments about certain stuff. Um, but yeah, I'm very excited for this show. I think it comes out, what, in 4 days? I don't know, because today's what is today? The 22nd, 23rd? I know it's somewhere in the 20s, and I know it comes out on the 27th. So I'm very excited. I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be 8 episodes. I'm not sure if it's gonna drop all at once, or just every Wednesday or whatever. But yeah, so that's some of my thoughts about the show, how it's gonna work out and whatever. Now I want to go over the West Coast Avengers setup, and kind of how the show is gonna bring all that into the MCU. So they of course have been kind of subtly throwing in hints at the West Coast Avengers, if you know where to look and you know what to look for. So the first one was definitely, I guess you could say, Mockingbird, Hawkeye's wife. Because I think, when do we first see Hawkeye's wife? It's in Infinity War, isn't it? I think it's the first time we see her. I could be totally wrong, but I think we get a hint to her. No, it's not. I'm a fucking idiot. No, it's not. It's old. It's Age of Ultron, because when they all go to Clint's house, I think that's when the reference to her being Mockingbird, because she was a SHIELD agent just like Clint, but she retired, I think, when they had kids. So there was that, but that was way early on, before they really had the idea to start building them up. But the real first time they really like put it out there, like, hey, we're gonna probably start building up to the West Coast Avengers, was in I'm drawing a blank. I always do these in my videos. So weird. WandaVision, when Sword or Saber, whichever name they used for that organization, creates the White Vision body. And of course, if you know anything about speaking of that, just literally popped in my head. Oh my lord, that's crazy. Vision was also another member of the West Coast Avengers. Totally forgot about that. Which also Simon Williams, little fun fact, was also responsible for the creation of the Vision. I don't know why I totally forgot that. Because that was going to be my biggest talking points. Yes, Vision is a founding member, not a founding member, but he is one of the main members from the old iteration of the team on the West Coast Avengers. And of course, he has that white body, so that's a big indicator that they're setting that up. And of course, since at the end of WandaVision, the Hex Vision puts all his memories into White Vision, and his eyes clear up, and he looks more human, and he flies off and goes wherever he goes. And of course, we're going to learn most likely what he was doing, where he went in Vision Quest, which I can't remember when it comes out, but it has been confirmed that Simon Williams will, I think, play a small role or have a cameo or something in that show. But yeah, so now we have White Vision running around the MCU with basically Vision is back, because of course it was Vision's creation all the way to his death in Infinity War by the hands of Thanos. So now he's off doing whatever. Then what was the next one? I feel like there was another one, but I think it really was just Wonder Man, the show coming out, and it's set, of course, in Cali, because that's where Hollywood is, on the West Coast. So that's another one, because of course that's where they're stationed, hence the name. Of course, we don't have Tigra in the MCU, but who knows? Maybe we'll get a reference to her in the Wonder Man show or Vision Quest. Of course, War Machine's already in the MCU, and he could take up the role for Iron Man as well, since he has an armor suit or whatever. Of course, we already have Hawkeye, and I'm pretty sure there are talks about a Hawkeye season 2 or whatever. Who else? I think that's about it. But yeah, I think definitely we're gonna get this. There's like, I don't know. There's no doubt about it with all these different setups. But now, when do I think we're gonna get it? Well, I think we're most definitely gonna get it after Secret Wars, after Doomsday and Secret Wars. They're kind of slowly setting it up, and they're gonna like release this Wonder Man show, right? Like, in a couple of days or whatever, and then we'll have time to think about that. And then come Doomsday, and then Secret Wars, and then that's when the everything resets, and they get their little small reboot that happens. Then that's when we're gonna get the setup for all these different teams, and like a real like Marvel universe, how it should look. You know what I'm saying? Then we get the setups for the West Coast Avengers, the Young Avengers, and all of that. So I'm really excited, very very excited about Wonder Man. I think it's a cool, a very untapped potential character. I cannot wait to see him in the show, in the MCU. And yeah, man, I hope they do him good. Don't let him die out or anything. And yeah, so that was my little talk about Wonder Man, what the show, and what I think, and West Coast Avengers, Simon, Eric, all of it. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. If you want me to cover anything else, collectibles, figures, whatever, movies, shows, whatever, just let me know. Or a topic about anything, let me know down in the comments. See you guys later.